All right, everybody, buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into some seriously effective study habits.
Especially for anyone out there, with exams coming up.
Time is ticking.
Yeah, you don't want to waste a single minute of it.
We're digging into this super interesting article from the SAS Institute today.
Yeah, the analytics legends
All about active learning techniques.
for exam prep.
Okay, so the title is a little bit on the dry side,
Yeah, fair enough.
but I promise you there are some absolute gems hiding in here.
Oh, absolutely.
We are going to extract the most impactful tips
Exact.
so you can study smarter,
Not harder.
not just harder.
Exactly.
So one of the biggest things that jumped out at me when I was reading this article
Okay.
was this idea of like active versus passive learning.
Yeah, they make a really strong case for that.
They really hammered this point home.
Absolutely.
Simply reading or rereading your notes.
Not gonna cut it.
Yeah, it's just not enough for actual deep learning.
It's like they're pushing for a more hands-on approach.
They call it active learning.
Yeah, exactly.
So not just passively like absorbing the info,
Right.
but actually like
Doing something.
doing something with it.
Making it your own.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Give us an example.
imagine you're trying to learn a new language, right? Would you just read grammar rules all day?
Probably not.
Or would you try speaking it,
Yeah,
making mistakes,
absolutely.
getting feedback?
Yeah, you got to use it.
Our brains, they're wired to learn by doing.
By doing okay.
That's how we make those connections.
So then what would be like just a couple like super practical examples?
Of active learning.
Yeah,
Oh, there's a bunch.
in the article.
Yeah, they go through quite a few techniques.
Give me your top two.
Flashcards.
Flashcards. Okay.
Super powerful.
Really?
But not just like any old flashcards.
Okay.
Think like image-based ones,
Okay.
especially if you're a visual learner,
Okay.
or even better, those digital flashcards
Oh, yeah.
with spaced repetition built in?
Oh, hold on. Spaced repetition. I've heard that term before.
Oh, yeah, it's a big one.
But like, what does that actually mean?
It's a technique where you revisit material at increasing intervals.
Okay.
So let's say you learn a new concept today.
Okay.
You review it tomorrow.
Okay.
Then again 3 days later, then a week later.
Oh, so you're spacing it out.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this helps combat the forgetting curve.
Right, because our brains naturally forget things.
Exactly. It pushes that information into your long-term memory.
So it's like giving your brain those little nudges it needs
Exactly.
to actually hang on to the information.
Right. And there are even apps
Oh, are there really?
that can help you implement this automatically.
Okay, cool.
Another technique I really like.
Yeah.
Problem solving.
Problem solving.
Working through practice problems, especially ones that mimic the exam format,
Okay.
forces you to apply your knowledge.
Oh, so you're not just
Identify weak areas.
reading about it, you're actually having to use it.
Exactly.
Oh.
It's one thing to understand a concept in theory,
Right.
right?
But to actually do it. Yeah.
Actually putting it into practice.
Yeah.
Totally different ballgame.
Okay, that makes total sense.
And something else they mentioned?
What's that?
Group study.
Oh, okay.
Don't underestimate it.
Yeah.
Bouncing ideas off each other,
Right.
explaining concepts to one another, even debating different interpretations, can really solidify your understanding.
Oh, I can totally see how that would help.
Built-in accountability partners,
Yeah.
like having mini teachers right there with you,
Right.
it's a good setup.
It's like a study support group.
Exactly. But it's important to structure those sessions effectively,
Oh, okay.
assign specific roles, set clear goals,
Okay.
and make sure everybody's participating actively.
Oh, so it's got to be structured.
You don't want it to just devolve into like a social hour,
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
like you actually have to have
an agenda.
like a plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So this is all like amazing advice, right?
It really is.
But is there like a downside?
To active learning.
Yeah. Could it be like too much
Yeah, that's a good question.
for students who are already super busy?
Yeah, time is precious.
Yeah.
It's a valid concern.
Right.
Active learning, it does require a more proactive approach,
Right.
a more engaged approach,
Yeah.
which might take more time up front.
Okay.
However,
However.
the payoff in terms of deeper understanding
Right.
and long-term retention
Okay.
can actually save you time in the long run.
Oh, so it's like an investment.
Exactly. It's about studying smarter, not necessarily harder.
Not harder, just smarter. Okay.
I like that.
Quality over quantity.
Quality over quantity.
When it comes to study time,
I like that.
remember active learning isn't just about acing exams.
Oh, okay. So it's bigger than that.
It's a much bigger picture.
What do you mean?
It cultivates critical thinking skills, problem-solving abilities, and a love for lifelong learning.
Oh, wow.
These are skills that will serve you well beyond the classroom.
So we're talking about more than just memorization.
We're talking about really understanding the material and, like you said,
And honing those essential skills.
honing those skills that are going to be useful no matter what you do.
Exactly. Now, as you go back to your studies,
Yeah.
I want you to think about this.
Okay.
How can you incorporate some of these active learning techniques into your routine?
So, like, look at what you're already doing and see if you can tweak it.
Exactly. Could you swap out some passive reading for some hands-on problem solving?
Good question.
Could you experiment with spaced repetition with your flashcards?
Okay.
Even small changes
Make a difference.
can make a big difference.
It's not about doing everything. It's about doing something.
Exactly.
Okay, I love it.
Find what works for you
Yeah,
and your learning style.
right. Because we all learn a little differently.
Absolutely.
And hey, if the experts at SAS Institute swear by active learning,
They do.
it's definitely worth giving it a shot.
I think so.
All right, folks, so you have it. Study smarter, not harder.
That's the key.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See you then.